Multimodality in Motion, Disability in Chirotic Spaces by Meg Monticelli. I open the first page of the article to be faced with two options, access and enter, near the bottom of the page. Halting for a moment, I choose enter, which led me to a page that explained both options lead to the same place. This introduction demonstrates in a small way the challenges current digital environments pose for people with disabilities. There are often conflicting messages that may or may not grant access to content. This article, as a series of essays, discusses multimodal composition from a disability studies perspective that seeks to complicate the normative ideas of web text design and who has access. 5 areas discussed are space and presence, modality, community, reason, and ableism. Margaret Price argues for a redefinition of academic infrastructure in space, providing access to chirotic moments. She asserts that the defining elements of chirotic space is pairing spontaneity with high levels of professionalism and academic impact. As such, we need a more complex notion of presence and telepresence, because digital communication complicates our ideas of presence. Presence online constituted and valued differently than other forms of presence, be it in person, on the phone, etc. We need to create more ethical infrastructures, Price argues. The modality essay discusses how multimodal texts have become inhospitable. Stephanie Kirschenbaum argues that multimodal inhospitality occurs when the design and production of multimodal texts and environments persistently ignore access except as a retrofit or point of access. Multimodal texts are not commensurable across multiple platforms. If a persona cannot access one mode of a multimodal text, then the whole text will be inaccessible. Digital design in space needs to be more flexible across platforms and channels of digital communication. Retrofitting is the act of correcting a web text to make it more accommodating or accessible to someone who has a disability. These corrections, however, are always reactive, responding to situations or problems that arise, rather than seeking to anticipate a potential concern with the design or production of a multimodal text or environment, according to Kirschbaum. Elizabeth Brewer discusses how changing our attitudes and language about physical and mental disability and illness will help us create online spaces that are wider, more flexible, and safe. Additionally, we must broaden our thinking of accommodation and access to not just the physical, but also the mental and emotional, using inclusive language and intentionally creating safe spaces. Reason and ableism in this web text argue for rethinking who we include in the conversation of redefining digital environments. Melanie Yurgra advocates for reconceptualizing participatory design, making it activist in nature as opposed to consumerist. Melanie also discusses the shame accommodation reinforces. She writes of her own experience seeking academic accommodation. I was trained to be shameful of my need for special requests, trained to be ashamed for the ways in which I communicate and process and create meaning. In short, I was trained to believe that what I needed in order to learn was not reasonable. To accommodate me would distort the geography of an otherwise humming, happy university. When designing web spaces, we should consider the intersection with disability studies and seek to make spaces more flexible and integrated. Individuals with disabilities should also be included in the conversation as digital environments increasingly become more participatory and collaborative.